Week 3, Lesson 2, Action Comics. On June 1938, for just 10 cents, or $2.10 in today's currency, readers all over the United States were introduced to a character who would forever change popular culture. A Cape man wearing a strong man's uniform, lifting a car over his head and throwing it into some rocks, while people run away terrified. This is the image that caught the imaginations of almost everyone who stopped to look at it. The strongman uniform seen on the cover was a symbol instantly recognized to most children in America. This was the type of costume that would be seen at a circus or at a lifting competition. It was meant to catch the eye and promote the lifter's muscles. There could be no doubt that any character wearing this would be strong. But how strong? At the time, strongmen kept lifting heavier and heavier objects, but no one had been able to lift anything close to a car over their heads. Siegel and Shuster had this scene in the book and decided to highlight it on the cover. This was the first superhuman feat witnessed in popular culture by many children in the 1930s. Another technique used in Action Comics #1 was that Superman's origin was summarized for us. Even though Superman himself doesn't know he's an alien in this, the reader is brought up to speed on the first page. As a distant planet was destroyed by old age, a scientist placed his infant son within a hastily devised spaceship, launching it towards Earth. When the vehicle landed on Earth, a passing motorist, discovering the sleeping child within, turned the child over to an orphanage. Attendants, unaware the child's physical structure was millions of years advanced beyond their own, were astounded at his feats of strength. When maturity was reached, he discovered that he could easily leap 1/8 of a mile, raise tremendous weights, run faster than an express train, and nothing less than a bursting shell could penetrate his skin. Early, Clark decided that he must turn his titanic strengths into channels that would benefit mankind, and so was created Superman, champion of the oppressed, the physical marvel who had sworn to devote his existence to helping those in need. A scientific explanation for Clark Kent's amazing strength is provided at the bottom of the page. Incredible? No, for even today on our world exist creatures of super strength. The lowly ant can lift hundreds of times its own weight. The grasshopper leaps to what the man would deem several city blocks. There are a few things worth noting here. First is that it never explains who Clark Kent is. We never read, the baby was named Clark Kent. The name is just thrown in there, and we're expected to know that Clark Kent is Superman's civilian identity. Secondly, Superman is given to an orphanage. This is something that almost never gets brought up again. It's more thought now that the Kents find him and bring the baby directly to their farm. The way the orphanage was snuck back into continuity is that Clark's Earth parents found him, brought him to an orphanage, and then quickly adopted him before anyone else could. This all happened when Clark was too young to remember it, but the orphanage part of his origin was quickly forgotten. Next, all his powers are directly connected to his strength. He can run really fast because he is strong. He can jump really far because he is strong. His most incredible feat is his strength. Then, we get a small section in the corner of the page, showing that these powers are scientific and possible. If ants can lift hundreds of times their own weight, why can't a humanoid creature? This made perfect sense to children in 1938. The final thing I think is worth noting on this page is the importance of science. Not just the baby's biology, but that baby's father's foresight. Superman's alien father was a scientist, and it was science that saved his child's life. The importance of science and scientists in the superhero genre is huge. There are probably more scientists per character in superhero stories than in any other genre out there. Of course, his origin came out at a time when readers weren't as sophisticated as they are now. Readers had to have everything justified with science, just to prove that they were smart enough to read something that could happen and not some childish fantasy. In fiction, that guy with psychic powers? He was really just very observant and deducted what people would say using logic. That villain with telekinetic powers? He used magnets. From the time between the two world wars, it seemed very important that science was used to justify anything that might seem spectacular in a book. So Superman was given scientifically possible powers. Now, there were pulpy books that used magic, but they didn't have the respectability at the time, and were designated juvenile power fantasies, like Conan the Barbarian, Call, or even The Hobbit. Superman's first adventure has him fight corruption and politics, and ends in an incomplete ending, promising to be continued in the next issue. Like Annie and Dick Tracy, Superman was originally intended to be read in newspapers before Detective Comics Inc. bought the rights to it. Because of this, the pages have very simple layouts. There's no creativity in panel placements like what we saw in Little Nemo. Each page was supposed to be 3 newspaper strips. It's safe to bet that Joe Shuster had already drawn these strips and didn't want to redraw them for a larger format that the pamphlet allowed. Superman was just one of the heroes in Action Comics #1. The issue was an anthology of individual stories. There were cowboys named Tex Thompson and Chuck Dawson, a reporter named Scoop Scanlon, a boxer named Pep Morgan, a retelling of Marco Polo, and the only other character to interact with future DC heroes, Zatara, Master Magician. Superman only appeared in 4 of the first 15 covers of Action Comics, but it soon became clear that he was the breakout character of the series, and he soon got his own spin-off magazine. Action Comics #1 sold out, and multiple printings were created of it. Since printing technology wasn't as advanced back then as it is today, it's impossible to tell what the difference between the first and third printing were. Because of this, all the early reprints of Action Comics #1 are equally valuable. Action Comics #1 is the single most valuable comic book issue ever made. There was a recent sale on eBay where Action Comics #1 sold for over $3 million. So, why is this 10-cent comic so valuable? Because it's considered by most to be the birth of the modern superhero. This is one little comic that changed everything.